This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petrinovich.
And I'm Kelley Gilster of 618 Studios.
And we are on a mission to help filmmakers level up their businesses and their craft so they can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here.
Hey friends, and welcome to another podcast episode. I'm your host, Taylor Petrinovich, and I'm joined by my co-host, Kelley Gilster.
Hello everyone, and Happy New Year. Taylor, how were your holidays?
They were so good. Took a lot of time off of my laptop, which felt really nice. All the celebrating, all the fun. But I'm ready to get back into work and to start kind of putting some things into motion for 2024, which I'm really excited about. How about you?
Yeah, it was good. We kind of did a million different Christmases. We just always do. So, we live about a couple hours away from our families. And so we did kind of our own little Christmas on Saturday morning. And then we headed down to San Diego and we stayed in San Diego for like 5 days and just did like roundabout houses and Christmases. And by like the fourth day, my son woke up the next day and was like, okay, so like, where are we going to go open presents now? And I'm like, it's all done. We're done. We are done with Christmas. No more presents. But it was so fun. And my daughter Sloan is a little over a year and a half. And, she's just at a really fun age for, really starting to grasp onto Christmas. So it was really fun. And like you, Taylor, I am really ready. I actually was surprised about how quickly I snapped out of like the holiday, I don't know. I just kind of took a break, but it doesn't take a lot for me to take a break before I get hungry for more. So I snapped back real quick into business mode for 2024.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're talking about today in this episode is really approaching 2024 with a fresh mindset, a new take on things, and we're kind of considering it our reset mode button. So we're excited to chat about how we can be refreshed, recharged, and go about business in a new and exciting way. But before we get into kind of what we want to talk about today, we just want to share a fun few things. If you follow us on Instagram, we're at the Level Up Co. Just a few hours ago, I actually put up something in our stories, just kind of asking for our followers to share any wins they had in 2023. I think that when we enter a new year, it's really exciting to look at our goals and to look at what's to come. But I think that a lot of times we don't often like celebrate what we've already accomplished quite enough, like what we worked so hard to achieve. We're just always on to the next. So I think it's really great for us to like pause for a moment and appreciate what we've already done. So I just want to share a few with you guys on the podcast. And I did ask for permission from each of these people if I could share. So it's K. Lou Photography. So her name is Kira Lou. And she said she booked 3 destination weddings for 2024, which is so exciting. Jessie Lorraine Captures says she went full time, which is such an accomplishment. Like that's such a huge leap and we applaud you. Giselle Films was in our mastermind and she said she did and completed our mastermind, which it was so fun having her in there with us. And we're actually going to be bringing her onto the podcast sometime within the next several weeks. So you'll have to keep an ear out for that one. And then Kyrie Copeland Films, who is actually going to be in our spring mastermind, says she just officially hit her income goal for the year, which amazing.
Amazing. I love that. And I can't wait to have her in Spring Mastermind too. We have had a few people RSVP to reserve their seat beforehand. Mastermind sells out usually within 72 hours, maybe a little less. So people who were just really ready to make 2024 their big year for growth have already made that decision, and we're really excited.
Yeah. And if you've been listening to the podcast and have been kind of on the fence about joining us in Mastermind, we would really love to encourage you to join us. It's just such like a transformative few months that we spend together. And if you want to make sure you have a seat reserved, you can go to thelevelupco.com/RSVP and grab your seat. So we are excited to start a new group beginning in April. Okay. So actually, Kelley, I want to hear from you. What are you celebrating that you did in 2023? What's a win that you had?
So this is kind of a different win, and it's a win that I'm kind of applauding for my husband. But for those listening, you guys have probably heard, or if you don't know already, we have a separate commercial brand. In 2020, we officially separated anything commercial brand related, all of that from 618 Studios. So our separate company is called Westmade Films, and they just serve two totally different worlds, right? So 618 is weddings and events, and Westmade Films is everything corporate, brand, commercial, all that stuff. And actually, Westmade Films beat out 618 Studios this year as far as revenue, which was really, really exciting for Paul. A little bit backstory, he actually went to school for civil engineering, and in 2016, he went into like diving into that while still remaining full time with 618 Studios. And he kind of had a hard time, like, you know, leaving that job or getting that job and then being in that job and then leaving, realizing it wasn't his dream. And he came back to build out something bigger for us on the commercial side. And that was Westmade Films. And so I'm just super proud of him now. It was a long journey. I think the first year was really a trial. I think all of us can kind of relate when we jump into our goals and we kind of have that sticking point where things aren't quite connecting, but the dots have finally connected, and it was really exciting to be able to just support him in that and really cheer him on. So that was probably like a big win too. But also Level Up, like Level Up has been like such a huge win for us. Taylor, what was yours?
Yay. First of all, go Paul. That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Level Up stuff has exceeded my expectations, definitely, like for 2023. And I don't think it's a secret that you and I are a little bit crazy and we have really big goals, and I'm excited for 2024. Aside from that, I do have a few things. I did have like my highest not only gross revenue, but like net profit year that I've ever had, which is very exciting. And I've also, I think, gotten as close as I've ever been to attaining some sort of work life balance, which is huge. And all thanks to my older two daughters who are 7 and 5 being full-time in like elementary school, and then also we put Katie, who just turned 2 a few weeks ago, in daycare, which was a big decision, but one that has helped my my like mental health a lot, and I think it's helped our family too, because I'm not like always in work mode. It's allowed for a little bit of separation and dedicated time to be working and then dedicated time to be mom. So those things are great. So if you're listening to this and you have a win that you would like to celebrate with us, feel free to shoot us a DM at the Level Up Co, and we would love to cheer alongside you and maybe share your win with our audience on our stories. So I know it's been a big year for a lot of filmmakers, photographers, and wedding industry people. So we don't want your accomplishments to go by unnoticed. So okay, so Kelley is the queen of all things stories and analogies and those like visual metaphors. And I kind of want you, Kelley, to share a story that you've shared just very, very briefly on the podcast before, so we can tie it into this idea of reset. And I'm talking about Sloan and doing something outside.
Yes. So a few months ago, I was outside with my daughter. We were just kind of having an afternoon in the backyard, and we had some of those bubble wands. I'm sure if you're a parent, you've seen those like $1 bubble wands in the Target dollar section. And so, I'm just kind of blowing bubbles for her and watching her as she does that. And we're getting a lot of bubbles out in the bubble wand, and she is just so like obsessed with all these bubbles coming at her. She's beyond distracted and just running after all of them, right? Picture 20 bubbles at a 1-year old, and she's just like head on a swivel. I got to get all these bubbles. I have to pop this one. I got to get this one. I got to get this one. And this poor girl is just running all around trying to capture one bubble, misses it, goes to the other bubble, misses it, goes to the next one, misses it, misses every single bubble, right? And we did it a few more times. I'm continuing to blow more bubbles for her. And each pass, she's just missing it, missing it, missing it. And all of a sudden, she like kind of switched her strategy. I could just like see it in her eyes that she was realizing that she was missing all of these, and this wasn't working anymore. She couldn't just try to get all of them. So there was a time when I went ahead, blew the bubbles, 20 more bubbles come out of the wand, and she fixated on one specific bubble. She like locked in on one bubble and watched the course of that bubble, where it was headed. She put blinders on to the rest of the bubbles, and she successfully popped that one bubble. And that was her new strategy from here on out. She was like, okay, if I can't get them all, at least I can consistently get one. And so I would continue to, blow them, and I'd watch her, she'd find one that she wanted, locked in on it, watched its course, made sure that she was following just that one. And it was so consistent. She would pop them every single time. And as she was doing that, I couldn't help but just kind of think of how this relates to all of us in business, right? Whether you're a photographer, whether you're a filmmaker, if you're a planner, I think that there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of bubbles all around us. And that could look like, just off the top of my head, I'm kind of thinking about maybe you're a filmmaker that films in this specific style, but then you're kind of seeing success by another filmmaker who films in a different style. So you're trying to chase that style, but hold on to your style. Maybe it's even like color grading. Maybe you're just kind of like trying to chase a grade that is seemingly, more profitable than another color grade, rather than just focusing on what you do well and finding that one bubble, which I kind of think in my mind, I kind of coined that as like your ideal client, right? So you're like zoning in on your ideal client and realizing that I want to focus all of my time, attention, talent into that ideal client so that I can consistently book them every time, consistently capture them every time, and consistently just, I don't know, fulfill what that client is wanting and making it a great experience for them. And, I think I see like in 2023, we saw a huge wave of Super 8 come through. And that could even look like this. Maybe you're a filmmaker that's like, oh, so many people are offering Super 8. Maybe you're feeling the pressure of like the Super 8 bubbles all around you. And you're kind of like, I need to offer Super 8, or I need to switch over to this camera system, or, whatever it may be. And I want you guys to kind of think about my daughter Sloan, my 1.5-year-old, and think about her bubble strategy and use that strategy in your own business too. Just, focusing in on what you really do well, what fulfills you. And that's going to come your way when you just kind of focus on what you have going on and you're not distracted by the noise around you, all those bubbles around you of what gear you need to be using, what, methods of filmmaking styles you need to use, what methods of editing style you need to use, be you. And that's what is going to bring the most success in your business and longevity in your business too. It's tiring. Like Taylor, I don't know if you've seen it too. Like it's tiring to like be like all over the place, you're swerving all over the road. We kind of used that a few months ago in our Road to Luxury workshop back in June that we hosted. And it's like, you're just kind of, you want a straight course of action. You don't want to be veering all over the road and exiting the freeway here, entering the freeway here. You really want to just be on that clear path that is going to get you to your destination point A to point B as quickly as possible. And that could be, that point B could be the amount of weddings you want to book. It could be the new price point, the new market you want to be in, um, a certain gross revenue goal that you have. So yeah, I just immediately thought of Sloan in that backyard, and I thought of all of you guys, and I just wanted to share that story with you all as encouragement that it's okay to, block out that noise. And maybe that's something that you maybe should be challenged with in 2024. Just really honing in and doing kind of a reset on who your ideal client is and how you can, just capture them every single time.
Yeah, really well said. And it's kind of fun to like imagine Sloane's like her understanding why she was failing at her task and then like developing the new strategy. And I think that's like so like transferable to all of us. And I don't know if you've ever done this, but for the past several years I've liked to have like a word of the year.
Oh, yeah, I love
So
that.
yeah, so I mean I would like to challenge everybody who's listening to come up with a word for 2024 that they want to keep kind of true to, whether that be focus or reset or balance. There's like so many words you can really like try to keep in the forefront of your mind, but have that be, the theme of the year so that you can, that's the bubble that you're honed in on, right? I also think that the bubble metaphor, like it can really apply to us in growth. So a lot of us know that like we have a goal, but there's so many bubbles, there's so many things that we could be working on as a business owner. And so we kind of like get that like, like the was it fight, flight, or freeze, right? Where we kind of just
Yeah.
like freeze and we don't know what to do to like achieve our goals. But I think if you can really just like hone in on one bubble and like attack it and like do a really good job of attacking it and improving it, then it'll get you to your destination or your goal a lot faster than kind of trying to do a multitude of things, mediocrely. Is that a word? Mediocrely.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
No,
so
totally. And I was even talking to Taylor. I told you a little bit about this, but this could even look like I don't know, like maybe even people who are like doing Super 8 just because, and this is not a Super 8 thing. I'm just saying that because it just kind of has come up as something that has kind of, I've seen it be like a wave. And I actually really love the look of Super 8. I think it's super. So but back in, I want to say 2013, I had a really good photographer friend who had a very specific style, very specific editing style, the way that he captured his couples and wedding days. And 2013 was a really big year for film, right? Um, I forget which year Jose came out with his book, but he had a book published and it kind of sparked a lot of photographers jumping into film shooting on a Contax and a lot of Fuji 400H film. And I think it really, a lot of people were inspired by that. And also, I think a lot of people, though, felt pressure to do that because everybody else was doing it. And he was someone that wanted to do it, right? So he attended Jose's workshop in Mexico the year before, and he got really good. Or my friend got really good at shooting film, and he started incorporating film, a few rolls of film in each of his clients' wedding days. And in 2014, so he did that for like a year and a half. And then in 2014, we were working together and I noticed that he wasn't shooting film. And so I asked, hey, how come you're not shooting film today? And he was like, I had to take a good hard look back at my business. And I realized that I was starting to not recognize my brand anymore. I was just making choices because that's what the masses were doing. That's what the wave of, successful, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm doing like air quotes of like successful photographers were all offering film. And I felt like I was being left behind if I wasn't offering it. And I just realized that I should just be me. I shouldn't do what everybody else is doing just to fit in or to try to serve that level of clientele. I can serve a really high level of clientele based on my own imagery and style. And so I think that was like kind of a brave thing for him to do, to really self reflect and decide that he had invested, being able to attend a workshop, internationally is a big expense, and purchasing, film cameras and all the film and all that stuff, to only do that for a year and a half, that's kind of a hard pill to swallow, to then look back and say, you know what, this wasn't serving my business, even though I invested all this time and I invested all this money into it, it just wasn't me. And so for those kind of listening, if you're feeling like you're just doing something because you feel the pressure to do it, really take some self reflection maybe in this new year and see if what you're doing really ignites you and fulfills you. And also, is it fulfilling your ideal client too?
Yeah, no, that's such a great story, and it's, I think, something that a lot of us do. We think we need to go one way, and for those who are willing to course correct, usually they're the ones who come out on top. We actually just had our last week of our fall mastermind a few weeks ago, and basically what we began with that session was a little bit of a pep talk, talking about what's called the sunk cost fallacy. And if any of you are listening to this who are as nerdy as me, you probably know what it is. But for those of you who don't, it's basically the concept that money and time that you've already spent towards one thing has already been spent and used up, whether that's the direction you continue to go or not. And the smart thing to do is to proceed with the better route, which may or may not be what you've already been doing, right? So it's like somebody who's already spent $50,000 in medical school and decides they like absolutely don't want to be a doctor and they would be miserable being a doctor, like thinking they have to see out the rest of their education because they've already spent $50,000, versus someone who like counts their losses, cuts it off there and pursues like a new thing, which would be like the more successful route because they'd be happier and they would still be profitable, right? So a lot of people will make these choices. They will go to workshops and learn how to do a new skill, or they'll, create a new website or things like that. But then they learn new tactics or strategies or new approaches that are in direct conflict with what they've already like done in the past and maybe spent money on, and they're afraid to let go of those things because they've already spent time and money on it, but going in a new direction is actually going to be more beneficial. So keep that in mind too. So like if you're like this photographer friend who like maybe you're afraid to like let go of this thing that you'd been pursuing because you've already spent time and money on it, like know that it's okay. It's a sunk cost. Like you already spent the time and money whether you continue pursuing it or not, and it's okay to like go in a new direction if you think it's going to be better and more beneficial to you. So just want to say that. So we're talking about resetting today. We want to talk about the new year, approaching it with like a fresh perspective and a fresh set of eyes. And one thing I like to kind of challenge our students to do is to identify like the weak points in their businesses and work towards improving those things, because that's what's going to get you to your goals. And if we're thinking about them in the terms of like Sloan's bubbles, right? Just like picking one or two items on your list to tackle in this first quarter of the new year. It's January. Everyone is like really, really excited for the new year. Booking season is upon us, like all these exciting things. And now is the time to really start implementing changes. And Kelley and I are very excited because one of these things that we think a lot of people either struggle with or they can work towards improving, which will benefit their business a lot, is how they approach pricing and packages and proposals. And so we would actually love to invite you all. We are putting on what we're calling the Reset Summit, and it's going to be a 1 day live online like workshop, conference, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Those things all feel like they mean the same thing, right? But we would love to have you join us. It's going to be something that we're really going to be helping you define how you want to approach it and helping you with mindset shifts, and then actually helping you within your businesses, like build out how you want to price yourself, how you want to create your packages, and then also for those of you who are ready for the custom proposal route, how exactly to go about that. And this is for filmmakers and photographers. We're going to have education for both of those disciplines specifically. So if you're listening to this and you want to check it out, you can go to thelevelupco.com/reset and learn more about it and see if you want to join us. And it's going to be taking place on January 18th, which is a Thursday.
I'm so excited about this. Taylor and I have actually had this concept in the works now for a couple of months, and we just decided on the name. And I think the Reset Summit is something that we will do, more than once. This is our very first one. If you are just ready for a true reset in 2024, you just want, something fresh, or we decided that, like, from what we've seen on various Facebook groups, including our own too, if you're not in our Facebook group, we would love to have you in our Facebook group as well. But, people are a little bit concerned about, I've been seeing lots of chatter about getting ghosted, getting ghosted from inquiries, or feeling like maybe they're in like a dead market, like they're in between markets and they're in a little bit of like a dead zone pricing wise. And so we want to uncover the truth as to why those things are happening, and being able to really get ahead of it now that all of these clients or potential clients, couples, have gotten engaged over the holidays, and be ready for our inboxes to be flooded with potential clients and be able to really secure that booking too. So it's going to be, like Taylor said, it's a 1-day virtual workshop. We're going to be going through, packages, pricing, proposals, all of that good stuff. And I was telling Taylor that the thing that people, I think, equate being ghosted to the most is they think that they were too expensive, when that's actually not the case very often. We'll get more into it next week. We're going to talk a little bit more about this in our podcast episode next week. So join us back next week, and we're going to be talking more specifically about these things. But I'm excited for this workshop because I think it's really going to bring some clarity, and really bring down the confusion that I think a lot of people have, and just frustration, right? It's a challenging thing to be able to pinpoint where exactly you need to make changes. And Taylor and I love providing answers and clarity. And so I think that's what this summit is going to do.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. And again, there's generally a lot of things that we can work on in our businesses to work towards our goals. And we know our audience, and we know you are a very ambitious bunch with huge goals. And so let's just take the time to focus on this one little bubble. We'll pop it, we'll get it really locked in so that we can move on to the next thing that we can improve in our businesses. And then actually I kind of wanted to, because it's January and it's a new year, I think it's kind of fun to start new traditions and new little maybe segments on the podcast. I'm throwing this at Kelley. We did not talk about this beforehand, but a few months ago we actually put out a call for questions in our Facebook group and on Instagram, basically just open Q&A, and a lot of you responded, and we were not able to get to them all in a podcast that we had recorded dedicated to that. And so I would love to kind of start a new segment on the podcast where we answer one of your questions every week. So if you want a chance to be featured on the podcast with your question, feel free to shoot us a DM on Instagram at @thelevelupco, and maybe we'll just answer your question next week. So the first question that we are answering in 2024 is actually one of our mastermind alumni, Kim Alvarado, and in our Facebook group, she asked, what are the trends, if any, in the luxury space right now?
I love this question. We all, I think, experienced, a big wave in the last year coming out of the pandemic. I think people are really craving authenticity, less posed feelings, less, less perfection and just like a good time. I feel like I'm seeing that clients really gravitate, and even planners sharing it more on their feeds too. As far as like, yeah, less perfection, more authenticity, more in between moments of things. I just saw a planner. I wish I could remember who it was, but it was a moment of like family photos, right? And so instead of, I think in the past, us just kind of like waiting for the family to get all set up and that perfect, fridge photo of the family or the Christmas card photo, it was a really sweet photo of like the ring bearer and flower girl like coming in hot at the group, and like the whole group was just like so excited, and they had like their arms out like they were gonna catch this like flower girl and ring bearer, and like those are the in-between moments that I'm kind of talking about, that I'm seeing more and more, that I think are so refreshing. Taylor, what about you?
Yeah, so true. I think for filmmakers, that looks like a lot of like maybe not using slow motion as much as we had, more
Yeah.
ambient sounds like straight from camera, things like that. Um, so I actually was going to say this, but I think these two things pair really nicely together. And I think that like content creation is becoming really, really popular, especially for um, maybe if you would consider it more like influencer style clientele, which is not generally the clients that I tend to book, but there's a lot out there. And I think the reason for this is because TikTok is huge. And what sets TikTok apart from Instagram is it's much more of an authentic type of platform. And so I think it kind of comes from the same place of like craving a little bit of like realness and authenticity, and there's room for everything, right? There's like room for really beautiful curated photos and room for authentic sporadic imagery like that. There's room for a really, really polished and beautiful wedding film. And then there's also room for a more real version, no pun intended, of like this like content that's more like consumable for social media and things like that. So I think that's just becoming more and more popular. And I know it can be a challenge to add bodies on a wedding day. But there is really a great way to like work with content creators so that our couples get exactly what they want walking away from their wedding. And I don't think it's something that's going to go away very soon. So I think we should just embrace the trend. But yeah, those are kind of a few things that I've seen. And if you want to
Yeah.
know kind of some more of our thoughts on this, last year at this time, right before we officially announced that Kelley was going to be joining as a co-host, we did the ins and outs for 2023, which I actually feel like a lot of them still apply. So if you want to scroll back 50 episodes or so and re-listen to that one, it was actually really, really good. So we invite you to do that.
So fun. I can't wait. I just love like the authenticity. I kind of feel like in 2000, I'm seeing a lot of recycled things coming back from when Paul and I first started in 2010. So, for those who are grandmas like me or grandpas listening in, it was huge to shoot the setup of a wedding day. So, like, it was very, very common for Paul to be out there shooting the florist setting up. Like, it was all about building this like momentum and excitement for like what was to come. And it's kind of funny because I'm seeing this almost again with like people bringing in like behind the scenes filmmakers. And I will say that like weddings have just become so much more. So like back then, we were shooting, the florist with all this stuff, but back then there was no flat lays to shoot, and there was no like robe photos to shoot of all the girls or the pajamas or things like that. So like it was sort of like you could kind of pick and choose a little bit easier. Whereas like I feel like now wedding days are so much more built out and there wasn't like 16 first looks either. There wasn't like the first look with dad. There wasn't the first look with brothers or sisters or grandma and grandpa or their dog or anything like that.
The dog.
But that was, yeah. Can we not do that in 2024? But yeah. So anyways, that was kind of like the thing, and it brought more authenticity and life back to films. And then things got really curated and very beautiful and very like style me pretty-esque. And then now we're kind of seeing the authenticity coming back. So I would encourage you guys to, just kind of leaning into a little bit more of that. I feel like films and photos are just, they have more life in them now. I'm really excited about it.
So again, if you made it this far in the podcast, thanks for hanging out with us. Happy New Year. We're really excited for a really wonderful and prosperous 2024 ahead. And we would love to see you at the Reset Summit. Again, you can find more information at thelevelupco.com/reset. And we hope to see you there. Thank you for joining us in this conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, please help us reach more filmmakers just like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it on social media. Don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.